Welcome to the Strangers on the Way podcast. I am so excited to have today's guest because I believe I met you when you were like maybe 18 or 19. Does
Hmm.
that sound right?
Yeah.
I was working at a college and Hannah was a student worker at the time and then went up the ranks and started working. We worked together for a number of years. And then we were in the same small group for, oh my goodness, how long has it been now?
I think seven years or so.
7 years. Wow.
Yeah.
And so we've journeyed together for a long time. So this is more, we were just saying, this is more of a friend than a stranger, but I'm so excited to just like, oh my gosh, for the world to get to meet her. Hannah Shallenberger, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Yes. Lauren, you're a treasured person, so it's fun to be able to take our friendship, which has included many things, and add one more cool experience. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Oh, so I love you, Han.
Oh,
You're amazing. Could
as
you
are
start,
you.
thank you. Could you start off just sharing with our listeners a little bit about who you are and some things that you love?
Sure. So, yes, I live in southeastern Wisconsin with my husband, and we have a bulldog. Lauren and I met in the world of higher ed, and I have stayed in the world of educational fundraising, working at some K-12 schools, preparatory high schools, and now I'm at a small Catholic college based in Minnesota. So I'd never really been to Minnesota before this, so I'm adding another Midwestern state to my list. Um, and yeah, between I work remotely, so I'm in a season of life now where I feel like I'm getting to spend my days exploring coffee shops, which is one of my favorite things. Just good cup of coffee and meeting some strangers along the way, much like this.
Oh, I love that. That's so smart that you do it from coffee shops because I think it's easy to stay home and then kind of get in a cycle. So that's kind of fun to explore different places.
Yeah, and I've realized I focus so much better in public because at home I'm like, oh, I could do this, I could do that. But
Yeah.
I that I every time I buy my $5 latte, I'm like, this is an investment in productivity. The budget all will all work out because I'm more
Yes.
focused here.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. Um, I know you've traveled a bit to Minnesota too. What is there any differences from our Wisconsin or Illinois states?
I I think that the idea of Minnesota nice is real. I It is, this is going to sound so silly, but I love the elevation it's Winona, Minnesota. So there's some bluffs there. It's right across from La Crosse, Wisconsin. So the thing I've noticed is like it's not just flat farmland. Oh my goodness. But in terms of the people, still like warm, kind Midwestern folk, which is my comfort zone.
I love that. I know Midwesterners are very kind, and it's amazing how the different regions in the states are so unique.
Yeah.
They all kind of
Yeah.
have their style, so that's fun.
Yeah. I don't think I do well in a big city. There's just like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
I'm glad to be where I am.
yes. I think we're all wired so, yes, just strategically or specifically. So
Mhm.
it's good that you know where you thrive. It's
Yes.
awesome. I love
That's true.
that. What are some things that you're passionate about?
So when you asked me about this, the first things that came to mind varied from like the deep stuff to lighter. So I'll include both just for fun. Um, as I've thought about my life, something that I'm passionate about, and as a core value is caring about people and making connections. And hopefully that's a core value of most of us. That's what it takes to have a society, that we all care about one another. But that's just something that I take really seriously, and I try to prioritize and orient in my life, trying to find quiet time to think of who haven't I prayed for lately, who haven't I reached out to lately, what is something a little bit special that I can do to go the extra mile. So that's like an overlay of my life of what I'm passionate about. And I've gotten involved in the last few years with a ministry that supports teen moms. And the reason that that's been really Kindred Life, shout out to Kindred Life, call them by name. The reason that I love them is that they do life with these moms. They're in the program for 3 years and they love these parents so well. And so it was really fun to get, that's again, a personal thing of mine that I want to support all the moms who want to have babies. And it's hard out there when you don't have the support system. So this was a really natural way to be a support system. And I also have a strong passion for paper products. Love me a notebook and pen, caffeine, all of those things. I was thinking about just the way that God like has made certain things so special to us. Like what we each have our random inanimate objects that give us extra joy. And that's one of mine.
Oh, I love that so much. It's true. Hannah will come to small group with like the coolest pens and the coolest new notebooks, and you're so organized.
Can't help myself. Everywhere I go, my souvenir is a notebook.
I love that.
So I just have so many.
You have them kind of like you can tell which season they're from, kind of like so if you go
Yeah.
back to different entries and yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, not only are they like dated, but I have a notebook of all of my, I just have a notebook for everything, and everywhere I go, I get a new notebook. So it's a fun thing. I try not to be too precious about it. How you never burn the good candle or that kind of a thing. I definitely have notebooks that I've had now for like 8 years. Like I got one in Germany that I'm like, I'll probably never use this, but maybe one day. But otherwise, I try to break them out for small group and my Sunday lesson notes at Bible study and things like that.
I love that so much. You are one of the most considerate, thoughtful people that I know, and I cannot tell you how many times I come home to a handwritten card in the mail from Hannah for sometimes just random things or birthdays or I'm like amazed at your intentionality. And for those of us who are like a little more not as organized. Do you have like a system or how is it in your brain or like do you just get prompted or like how does this work and how do we
I think this does come down to a wiring thing in that you're giving me a lot of credit for intentionality and organization and all of that. But I mean, I think it's sort of like a habit in that, again, I love paper products. So all of this kind of comes together coincidentally,
Yeah.
that like I have this collection of cards that like I want to use, I want to send out into the world. It like the physical act of writing is really meditative for me. And I'm someone who does do a better job of getting my thoughts all together by writing. Sometimes I think my best prayers are the ones that I've written out. So I'm naturally predisposed to enjoying that process. And I've got amazing people in my life that are doing cool things. Like I know that, you finished your program at Bethel. And so I got to like write a note for that. Or we've got some great teachers in our small group. So like, good luck with your school year, and birthdays are fun. So I think it's just, um, I do get promptings of like, ooh, that would be, remember, so and so said that, or I legitimately like a weirdo in my notebook have like, so and so said that this is happening next week. Follow up with them. So I
Yeah.
mean, it does take thought, but it all just comes down to it being something I enjoy. So I'm glad that they're well received because I enjoy doing it.
Yeah, it's so amazing. Like it's one of those rare, I would say rare, like people don't generally get mail, anymore. So that's what makes it so much like more special. And then when it's just random occasions, it's beautiful. Like I just love that.
There was a bridal shower that I helped to host recently, and we got into this whole discussion of like, do people send thank you cards anymore? Is it a thank you text? Is it a group text? So like this idea of how we connect with one another is so evolving. And I think that that's cool that there's a way for each of us to do it our own way, but it doesn't matter how much the post office makes stamps, although I have stocked up on the forever stamps. I'm just going to be the last one sending mail for a long time.
I love it. It's so fun. It's like such
Thanks.
a cool legacy. I remember at the college that we worked at, one of the
Mhm.
football coaches would write a card every day to
Yeah.
someone, and it kind of reminds me like what a legacy. And then people were talking about receiving their cards
Oh,
from him at his
yeah.
funeral. So I think it's beautiful that you do that.
Yeah. And it's like something a little bit more tangible too. I'm gonna out my sister in that I wrote a thank you note to her for a gift she gave me, and she read the thank you note. She did read it, and she was standing next to the garbage, and she like threw it away like one fell swoop. She's like, "Well, how long do you want me to hold on to this?" And I'm like, "Fair, fair. This doesn't need to be a something you take into eternity with you." But I do appreciate. There are notes on my cork board that people have given
Yes.
me that are like such encouragement. So I think it's we should never undervalue the power of like words and thinking of people for sure.
Yeah. Do you have, I have like a basket of cards that I kept, it's very, quite tall.
Yeah.
Do you have that in addition to your cork board?
I do. Yeah. I recently went through my wedding cards and kept like maybe a select few from important people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have just probably you and I have had some good cards over the years. I know I
I
have some from
know.
you.
I
Or
know.
like you've just written me little notes and like slipped them to me. And yeah. So yes, definitely, definitely. I don't rotate them as well as I should, but that's an idea.
No, I love that. This is just random, but did your mom used to write notes in your lunches when you were little?
Sometimes. Actually, when I was in the sixth grade, uh, my language arts teacher did this whole project where they sent a note home to parents that like write your kid a note and we'll read it on this certain day. And it was a room of sixth graders who I remember middle school pretty well. I don't know if you do, but like that is a time when you are trying to establish that you're cool, you're like trying to have it all together. And it was just a room full of children crying because like their parents had written them a note. And my mom wrote me one and my dad wrote me one, and my dad is a less words kind of person. So that's something that I'll forever cherish. So
Yeah.
still that's in my box of notes.
Oh, I love that. That's wonderful. I know you come from a bigger family.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
neat. What was it like growing up in a big family? And what is
Yeah.
it like now? Like you're still
Yeah.
in that big family, just
I am, thankfully.
married in
Think
a
so
different
it's
house. Yeah.
yeah, myself, four brothers, and then my sister. We have a set of twins in there, so that means that my the span of years is 8 years between my sister and I. And I I loved it. I think, I was talking to my brother yesterday about this, that we all have different things that we've taken from that experience. And I if anything, it's like quirks and things like that. And he's like, I think I really came out of this whole big family thing unscathed. Like the rest of you have some impact, but I'm good. But I mean, there was always someone to have fun with. My mom was with that many kids. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, so we had the pleasure of going on a lot of adventures, and I mean, it was just great. And to this day, we still do a lot together as a family. This evening, one of my brothers is doing a 5K, and so we're gonna go. I'm making posters like it's a marathon, so I'm thinking of like what to put
Oh,
up there. Hopefully, I don't know how it'll work, but so we do a lot together as a family. I've joked that being a member of my family is like a part-time job because with of the six of us, let's see here, four are married. There are three grandkids. I have three nephews, so there's always something. And
yeah.
I've come to really love my nephews. I've not come. I instantly loved them. I just underestimated how much I would love them.
Mhm.
It's like one of those things that people talk about and then you experience, you're like, oh my goodness.
Mm.
But no, it's helpful to have such a big cadre of people to call upon, and that's something that I think is in our family values as well that I've now adopted and made my own is the importance of showing up for people and that we're really a team. So hopefully in some of the best ways possible, like their problems become my problems. And as the oldest, probably for me, it's a little bit more so than some of the others. I take my role as the big sister quite seriously. But if my car breaks down, my brother is a mechanic, so he's the first one of my brothers is the first one I call. Um, and so we've got a strong network. Between all of us, we can probably accomplish a lot and we enjoy that.
I love that so much. It's so neat. I feel like I know the world is like a bit, it can feel like a bit more disconnected or like
Mhm.
isolated
Yeah.
in the past, but I just love like whether it's physical, like family by blood or other
Yeah.
family, friends and family, like that network of support is so vital. So I
Mhm.
love that that's in your DNA.
Yeah, I mean, it takes like so much stress off to have friends who you can call upon, and it's not a favor, it's not a huge burden. I mean, we should all be considerate of one another and how much we're asking of folks. But yeah, I know that like you are someone who, if I was like, oh my gosh, Lauren, I'm in a real pickle, I know that you're someone who shows up for me. So yeah, these friendships are so valuable.
Yeah. Oh, back at you, Han.
Thanks.
You're like the most reliable person I know.
Except I'm late to everything. So you're
Oh,
like,
me
she's
too.
coming. I know she's coming. It might be in the next 15 minutes though.
It's because we're optimists. That's what I've heard. We just
Yeah.
squeeze in the like, as much as we can. And then,
Yeah. Yeah. The like I'm just gonna get one more thing done, or the
yeah.
hopeful thing of like it'll only take me 5 minutes to do this, and then like 20 minutes later.
Yep.
Probably like maybe a side of low grade ADHD, but who knows?
Who knows? Who knows?
Just how God wired us. We're just like looking for the next thing to do.
Yes, it's true. Oh, I love it. Well, in addition to that, you're one of like the wittiest people I know.
Oh, well, thank
I
you.
love small group because we just like crack up because I don't know, you just have the best comments. So I've joked with Hannah like, oh my goodness, you should have a podcast. So if you were to have one, what would the topic be? What would it be about?
So if it was me needing to talk, I think I would want to talk to people about their families, because I think there are weird things in every family that I mean there's hard stuff, but like every family has some really funny stories. So I would love to collect people's funny stories. The thing that I was talking to my brother about yesterday was that now like it's just me and my husband Eli. So like when we go out to dinner, there's no doubt that we're going to be able to find a table. But when we were growing up, we would go out for dinner or go out to eat limitedly because there were so many of us and budgets were tight. But if we were going out, there was usually not a table for all of us. If it was the six of us, plus my parents, plus if we had like my mom's parents, my set of maternal grandparents with us, that's 10 people. That's a big table. So I would be tasked with finding the table and pushing the tables together and like, is it even worth staying here at this restaurant if there's not enough tables? And we weren't always the perfectly behaved. So like setting some kids over here, some over there was really not an option. We needed to be kept in control. So anyway, to this day, I will like send Eli to go get our food and I will establish the table, because like what if there's no table, which is a really weird quirk, because there will definitely be a table for two at some point. But so I think every family probably has those things that like
I love
we
that.
didn't know that it wasn't common for XYZ to happen on Christmas. Doesn't everyone, eat their gingerbread house upside down on Christmas? So I would want to do a podcast about that because I think there'd be a lot of funny stories. Or I am really inspired by this format that you have, Lauren, and I would try to recruit celebrities to have them interview impactful people in their lives, because I think there's people
Oh,
like I would not be able to get. But if Brad Pitt was on a podcast, he could get someone really cool.
I love that idea. So they would interview people that impacted their life
Yes.
that may not
So
necessarily be famous.
no, right, exactly. Hopefully, ideally, the person that was impactful to them wouldn't be famous. Because I think, again, no shade to the celebrities of the world, but sometimes they get that way, and they have certain things to share, but there's brilliant minds that aren't having a spotlight put on them. So just
Hmm.
another way for someone to use their celebrity status to be like, I have always wanted to know what it was like to go to space. So we're gonna interview this random astronaut.
Love that.
So that was when you'd kind of prompted me a little bit to think about podcasts. I was like, I want the random heroes of the world that aren't getting a spotlight put on them for celebrities to use their celebrity to
Mm,
interview them.
that's so neat. What celebrity would you love to have on your podcast?
Hmm. I would love to have, gosh, the first person that came to mind was Reese Witherspoon, because I think she's a really smart business person. I
Yeah.
don't know if you know that. So she has her book club, like how Oprah had her book club.
Yeah.
Reese Witherspoon has this book club, And if your book becomes one of her featured ones, she has the rights to make it into a movie. And so she's
Wow.
like a really smart business person. So that's where the Crawdads Sing is one of those books that then turned into a movie. So I think she's a really smart business person. And I, it sounds silly, but I think she inspired a lot of girls to go to law school or just to think about like crushing that glass ceiling. So I don't
Yeah.
know if she's a nice person, but some of her
Yeah.
stuff has really been interesting to me.
Inspiring. Yeah. Reese Witherspoon, if you're listening.
Yeah, yeah. If someone somewhere knows Reese and she wants to uh,
I love
wants to
that.
chat, I'd love to. I'm sure she has like really cool people that have impacted her life that she would want to highlight.
I
So.
love that. So creative. That's such a cool idea. I
Well,
love
and yeah, so there's probably a reason it hasn't been done yet, but maybe not.
because Hannah's supposed to do
Well,
it.
maybe from my little house in Wisconsin, just reach out to Hollywood, and
Hey,
yeah,
you never know.
I think there's a lot. Just there's so much power that we give these people, like how much media is consumed in our day, and
Mhm.
how much influence we give these people. And I'm like, okay, I know you're donating to hurricanes and things like that, but like it should be a big responsibility to be that famous for how
Hmm.
much clout and how much power we give them.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Oh, I really hope this comes to into fruition.
All right, well, we'll see. I think that the
Yeah.
family one would be a little bit easier. Do you have any like when I said that, did you have any stories about your family that came to mind? Because your
I know.
brother is a character too. You're so fun, and your
He's
brother is such
fun.
a character. Your mom is amazing. Your dad,
Yes.
I met only a few times, but he had some good lines.
He was funny. I'm trying to think of like, I mean, we are kind of weird for sure, I would say. I know like one of my favorite is just we would every Sunday we'd go to my grandparents' house.
Hmm.
Um, and it was so fun. My mom's 107, so big family.
Uh,
I loved growing up that way. And we would dance, like the girl cousins and I would make up dances and we'd perform them for the aunts and uncles. But then my aunts would always be just dancing to 70s music.
hmm.
And so it felt like I was like, doesn't every family do this? So even in like really kind of traumatic times, my cousin was in the hospital a couple years ago. Um, and we like my aunts danced in the parking lot, like just to like almost shake off
Yeah, yeah.
the fear or the
Hmm.
it was just super powerful. So I feel like dancing is like part of our family legacy.
Oh,
Um, yeah.
Lauren loves to dance. Uh, I am not a good nightlife person, but there was a club in Kenosha, Wisconsin that was a dance club. And
Yes.
Lauren, the only person in the world who could have gotten me there was Lauren. And I went a few times and it was great fun.
We had a blast.
Yes.
Oh, such good memories.
Yeah.
I love that. So good. I love that. Well, in addition to like your wittiness, you're like one of the most brilliant, most intelligent people I know as well.
Oh,
And you have a lot of wisdom. And I love to ask guests on the podcast, like, what wisdom do you have for listeners? So people tune in kind of from all over, but any
mhm.
wisdom for any age range of people, just from like what you've learned or observed in life that you'd want to share with people as an encouragement.
Sure. So I think again with I right now I recently just deleted like half of the things off of my phone because I was getting sucked into it so much.
Yeah.
And it was a great reminder of how important it is to prioritize your priorities, which is not life-shattering, brand new advice, but again, with the paper, I have a paper planner, and sometimes I'm like so intentional about being like, this is the first thing I need to do, and other times I like kind of just toss it all up.
Yeah.
And I realized just how much better my life is when I say, okay, my priority is having some time to pray, and then I actually do it,
Mm.
and not just fit it in the pieces. And I mean, no shame to when you're fitting the important things into the pieces. Sometimes life just you can't help that something's happening at 8 a.m. and at 9 a.m. and at 10. But just my advice is to spend some quiet time and think about what is most important to you and what is the one thing you're going to do to act on it? Because also it's so easy to be like, it is important to me to, yeah, love people well. And that is like, who are people? What is loving them well? What does that mean?
Mm,
Um, so I putting some, deciding what's important to you and then picking what the important thing you're going to do is, and then letting yourself off the hook for the
mm,
rest of it. Because I think we sometimes we're just so hard on ourselves that we want to be doing more, we should be doing better, we all of that, and we're trying to do it of our own strength. We're striving, and I'm trying to be, again, Lauren is incredible. For those of you who listen, you probably know that Lauren is incredible at just listening to God. I know you probably would say you've got room to grow, and I'm sure you do, but
yes.
you are someone who encourages us as friends to be seeking that wisdom. And I'm growing in my ability to hear God. Um, Usually it's just like a knowing after
Yeah.
praying, then
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
So in that way, I can just feel like I need to do it all and then lose track of how, like, am I really being called to do that thing? Like,
Mm.
do I want to do it for my own reasons or am I being called to do it? So just my wisdom is around, you know, pray about, think about your priorities, find some quiet time to really think that through, and then find one way to do it. And bonus points if you have a paper planner to do it with.
Yes. I love it. How do you, okay, like say a priority comes to mind. I love like, there's people who like dream things and don't do them, which is okay, but you like actually do. Like the as what I've experienced, like
Mm.
say you are like, okay, I really want to value this. How do you like what's your process? I love like looking behind the hood of
Yeah,
how
yeah.
people do things.
I mean, I think so. I've done a lot of different things in life. You know, the standard like January reset. You and I have done vision boards. So just I think it for me, it's about taking the time to really think of things holistically because life is so busy. We can be thinking about things in like small snippets. So I try really hard every so often to just plan some time to just do the full brain dump. And I think we all have things that we that we feel pulled towards doing better or doing more. And then it's important to take the time to see, like, where is that coming from? Is it that everyone else is doing that thing? So I feel like I should be doing that thing? Is
Mm,
it coming from a place of, our own insecurity? Like everyone else works out. Why don't I work out?
mm,
Um, for me, it's about like, I mean, honestly, what are the things that I am telling myself I should be better about? What are the things that I'm feeling really vulnerable and insecure about?
yeah.
And then, like, can I do anything about it? If so, again, like checking, is this something? So, like, I have times where I'm like, I should be a better friend. Like, oh my gosh, there are so many people pouring into me. I should be pouring into them. And then I check myself and say, well, should is a
Mm,
dangerous word.
mm,
Do I want to do that? Or
mm,
when I say I should be, what does that mean? And for me, again, that's, sending people notes, checking in via text message. But for other people, it's, showing up. I don't always physically show up. But there are people who love to do that. You were mentioning that there was a friend of yours who came to your basketball game and how meaningful that was to you.
mm,
So I think for all of us, it's a different thing, how it feels natural, and we're skilled and wired to show up in different ways or to have our goals manifest themselves in certain ways. But yeah, I just continue. I mean, for better or worse, there is so much feedback that we're giving ourselves, wherever it's coming from, and so that's often my starting point is staring at it head on, because it's so much easier for it to just be the voice in the back of my head that is
yeah.
constantly on a loop. And sometimes I think that is the enemy. Sometimes I think that's God being like, I'm going to just tell you for the 35th time, have you thought about? But when I'm busy, those two voices sound so similar.
Mm,
So I need to, this is a reminder to myself, even in this moment, like take the time to like to pray about it, to center myself and really think about it and not just let all of the anxiety, all the worry, all the whatever be the fuel and then just do stuff.
Yeah. Oh, so wise.
Well,
So,
again, like advice I need to take for myself. By no means am I like, having I'm trying to be more intentional, but sometimes it's just once a month, even being like looking at my calendar and saying, oh my goodness, I'm so booked. What can I not do so that I can do other things? But we're all just
yeah.
this life thing is like so beautiful, but it takes so much effort.
Yeah. And especially as Americans, I just think we're so
Yeah.
productive and like it's great. Like we accomplish a ton, but
Yeah.
sometimes it's like, I don't know, the simple things can get
Mhm.
by the wayside.
Yeah. Or yeah, I just think about how, again, I should chuck my phone into the ocean and I think I'm alone in that
I'm
because
with you.
like I'm like wow I am up to date on what is happening on Love is Blind, and then I have this moment where I mean I am not against people relaxing and having recreation, and I think that's all very highly necessary, but I'm like, is that going to matter for eternity? I now know what's happening with Hannah and Nick and like blah 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 blah. Like probably not. So is this a way that like and again am I using my phone as a way to connect or distract or I don't know. There are times when I wish I could just go back in time and like have stuck with the flip phone a little while longer.
Yeah. I feel you with that. I do. And yeah, I know there's like so much research too about what it's doing to brains and things. So, yeah,
And I don't know if we had group texts on flip phones either. Group texts are like a whole other beast.
true.
Like conversations that like there's again, so for every good thing, there's a hard thing.
Yes, I know. Yeah, I would love, do you have a method of, do you like check your phone certain times of the day or like sometimes I'm like responding to things is feels even overwhelming in itself. Do you like, I don't know, do you have a method or strategy? I know some people do, some, I don't know, but
I have I'm trying to be more disciplined about not reading something unless I'm ready to respond to it. Because my
oh,
biggest problem is that I'll like open it, look at it, be like digest it, answer it in my head, and then like never get back to the person. So that's something I'm trying to do. But overall, no, I am like touching my phone.
yeah.
I know that there's a way to turn on the things that say you have picked up your phone 20 times today. And I haven't done it partially out of fear that it's going to be, you're on this thing all the time. And I found again with my new season of working from home, like in an office, you feel a certain amount of social pressure to like be locked in.
Hmm.
But now when it's just me and the dog, I'm like, I could answer that text message now. Why not? So
Yeah, yeah,
that is an area, a current area of reflection for me is like how to change my relationship with my
yeah,
phone. Because they're tricky. They're tricky,
they are.
but no, trying to pin conversations, leave them on unread, and give myself grace for when I don't get back to people as fast as I should. Because
Yeah.
that, yeah, there's a whole other like pardon me, conversation here about like how accessible we should be to other people.
Hmm.
How, again, back in the day, you're writing letters and you're like, I wonder if I'll have something in my mailbox in the next 3 days. Not, people texting you at 6 a.m. and being like, hey, what about? And you're like, oh my goodness, my eyes are barely open.
Yes, I know. I know. I'm with you. I feel like it's a human thing.
Yeah, well, we're talking about connection. And again, I
Yes.
think for every good intention, there's like the thing that we just need to be so conscious of,
Yeah.
not being so glued to my phone as I'm telling myself I'm just texting people and then all of a sudden I'm on Instagram and I'm just messaging them or I'm just keeping up on their lives. And
Yeah.
yeah, but no, I would say there are many people in my life who I think have a very healthy relationship with technology, and that is something that I'm working on.
Yeah. Me too, sister.
Yeah.
So good. Well, as we wrap up, I would love to ask, uh, because you are also a thoughtful letter writer, but also gift giver,
Oh,
what is the most meaningful gift you've ever received?
hmm. So I commuted to college And the first time I moved out of my family home was when I got married at 28. Yes. No, how old was I? 27. And so like I'm the homebody's homebody and having this big family, I loved being around them. So when it came time to come to college, I lived within a commutable distance. And I was fortunate to have had a scholarship that covered my tuition. So in my mind, I was like, most people would be like, oh my gosh, that's so much money to save. Of course, I'm going to pay for room and board. My frugal self said, if I can just keep this as cheap as possible, I'm just going to drive to school every day. So anyway, long story short, I commuted to college. And my first winter of driving to school, one of my younger brothers, who, let's see here, if I was 18 at the time, he would have been 12. He put together a like on the road emergency pack for me. So it had like a fleece blanket of, and he did this. I'm sure my mom like helped him a little bit, but he did this all on his own because he's like, I have a copy of, if you get stuck in the snow and you need something to do, here's a copy of To Kill a Mockingbird. So I have like his copy of To Kill a
Oh,
Mockingbird. There's a little Bible in there. There's like a stubby little pencil. And so it was just like the most thoughtful thing because I could tell that he was trying to, like, he was thinking about my stage of life. Maybe he was even like a little worried about me, that he wanted me to have everything that I need. And I still have it in my car. There's still like that green duffel bag in my car with To Kill a Mockingbird in it. Maybe one day I'll be on the side of the road reading it, but
wow. That's so thoughtful.
yeah, it just showed a lot of my youngest brother Sam is like has the sweetest heart. We call him Sweet Sammy, which he's now a lineman for ComEd. So it's like a very tough job. So I'm sure that's not a nickname that has persevered with him into his work life, but he's a very big heart. And I think those are some of the best gifts that we get when we feel known by someone and they are kind of thinking about us on our, like, you can tell that someone was thinking about me personally and what would be a service to my life.
Hmm. Oh, I love that. That's so beautiful. What a
Thanks.
great gift. Way to go, bro.
Yeah, brothers, they can be knuckleheads, but they can be the sweetest too.
Yes, they can.
Yeah.
Uh, well, Hannah, thank you so much. I
Oh,
just
thank you.
love your heart and such a joy to have you on the podcast.
This is a checkbox like bucket list item. I've now been on a podcast. Thank you.
I love it. I can't wait till yours comes out.
Okay, I'll work on this. I'll work on this. You said you had some tips and tricks, so maybe I'll have to learn the Lauren method because you do an incredible job.
Yes, we'll pull a Bob Goff and just call Reese Witherspoon.
Oh, there we go.
I love
Bob Goff would be fascinating to have on a podcast.
it. He is
Mm.
one of my future goals.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna start calling him on your behalf. Like, Bob, have you heard? Every
Thanks.
day, just a new. I wonder if I know you're trying to wrap us up, but I wonder if Bob has a voicemail box. It would be full all the time, so I don't know if he even has that feature left on.
I know, that's true. That's a good question. I've
Yeah,
called him I've called him 3 times. Twice he's answered. I'm trying to remember if it was a voicemail.
yeah. Well, one day he'll be on this podcast and you'll ask him.
I know, right? For those who don't know, Bob Goff is an amazing author, humanitarian, and he puts his cell phone, talk about accessibility,
Yeah.
back of his books, and people call him, and he's had pretty wild adventures and really believes in the power of availability. So,
And saying yes to God. I think he's had some really, uh, because he's made himself accessible and available, God has asked him to do some kind of crazy things. And he is someone to like jump in with both feet. We've read a number of Bob's books in our small group, and every time I read it, I'm like bristled the whole time because I'm like the core essence of this man and the core essence of me are like not compatible because he's just like he doesn't worry, he like jumps in with both feet, and I'm like, do we have a 10-point plan? And I'm gonna worry about that 10-point plan. So every time I read him, the process has me agitated, and at the end, I'm inspired. So
yeah,
if that's not a promo, I don't know what is.
I
I'm
love
angry,
it.
but then happy.
It's amazing that we're all wired because we do need the plan too, you know. We need it all.
And
So,
I need people like him to inspire me to take the leap.
yes, it's so true. Hannah, I love you so much. Thank you
I
for
love you too.
being
Thank
on the
you.
podcast.
Thanks for this. This is awesome. Can't wait.